Welcome, very warm welcome from Applus IDIADA to all our attendees. Good morning, Europe. Good afternoon, Asia, friends. This is the seminar on tire labeling organized by Applus IDIADA Homologation Division. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ignacio Lafuente, working in IDIADA since 28 years ago and responsible for the Commercial Vehicle Homologation Department and responsible for all which is vehicle dynamics and component testing. In particular, my department is responsible for the homologation, testing, and certification of tires. It's more responsible for the delegation in the United Nations in the Spanish group. As well, I have been participating in the European Commission expert group on laboratory alignment since its initial moment, and I was appointed chairman of this working group in 2016. First of all, some logistic comments. Remember, please stay muted during the session. Be aware that the session will be recorded so that it will be possible for you to see it again later on. And the questions and answers, please use the chat and we will discuss them all together at the end of the session. Why this seminar? It's obvious that, all in the world, we produce more than 1 billion tires per year, probably near 2, and out of them, several hundred of millions go to the European Union. Tires are a significant impact in the CO2 reduction, emissions, active safety, so avoiding accidents, as well as acoustic comfort of the citizens. This is the reason why in the past, European Union decided to add some regulation to the existing approval, and we establish the initial tire labeling that later on, after 10 years experience, will be replaced by the new one, which is the matter of today's seminar. Why a label? First of all, you remember that Tyre was evaluated according to the homologation regulations during many years, but this has revealed to be not sufficient for the consumers to make an informed purchase. Then European Union decided to establish some kind of information to the end consumer so that when one person decides to replace the tires in the car, has a little more information than the pure approval mark. This is the reason for the 1222 regulation in 2009 that has been a great success in Europe and as well has been the model for many other labeling schemes worldwide, Europe, Asia, America, etc. Why this new regulation? After 10 years experience, we have seen the big benefits provided by the label. 10 years ago, we saw in the markets very bad labels in FGs, etc., as well as very high noise levels. As of today, the label has got an important success by eliminating of the replacement market the worst segment of tires. Therefore, we in European Union, we see a clear benefit of that. After those 10 years experience, we have seen that the label can be improved. And in this seminar, we will see the differences between the future label as of next year and the existing label today. Why we organize this seminar? Who is IDIADA? IDIADA is a company providing engineering services to the automotive industry. First of all, we provide services of testing, development, engineering, simulation. But our homologation division, to whom we all belong, is a recognized technical service with full competencies in all the approval regulations, directive, and many non-European standards. As well, we have complex of proving grounds, main one in headquarters in Barcelona, as well as a newly opened proving ground complex in China. IDIADA today is a multinational company with presence in more than 25 countries, with significant presence in European countries and Asian countries, as well as our American delegations. Today's seminar is foreseen for Europe and Asia, but it will be followed by another one in timetable compatible with American attendees. What is the homologation division? First of all, homologation division is the unit responsible in IDIADA to fulfill the regulatory requirements. We work for the different approval authorities, for instance, Spanish government, as well as many other European or non-European authorities, helping the manufacturers to prove their legal compliance. Our work is based in the UN regulations as well as the European Union directive or regulations, but also based in national regulations when applicable. So we provide safety or security by signing approval certificates with good results, and with our approval certificates or reports, our clients, vehicle or component manufacturers can get the necessary approval to sell the vehicles. Our mission: to help manufacturers in their marketing activities so that with our documents, any kind of vehicle category or component can access to any market worldwide, not only European market, but any other using our certificates. Homologation division has an impressive network of relations, international relations with different approval authorities, not only in Europe, so that we can help manufacturers in their activity marketing products in North America, South America, or Asia, even African countries. And in particular, this department, commercial vehicle department, together with vehicle dynamics, we are responsible for anything which is moving a car in the proving ground. So brakes, ABS, automated driving, stability control, as well as replacement part or brake efficiency are our main responsibilities. Within this, for sure, tire testing and certification is a very important activity, and we are proud to be one of the few technical services having full capacity for tire homologation and tire leveling testing, because we have all the necessary facilities, as you see here, ISO, surface for noise, rolling resistance facilities, as well as impressive wet grip testing facilities for any kind of vehicle category, all together in our headquarters of Barcelona, as well as in the proving ground we have in China. We have these capabilities. And this, together with the fact of being one of the European reference laboratories for rolling resistance laboratory alignment. So this is an example of our capabilities. Of course, you know that Spain is a warm country. We don't have snow. Therefore, for the snow testing, we have the nice cooperation of our friends in Finland as well, present here. One greeting for them. But indeed, IDIADA is able to perform all the necessary tests and provide all the possible services related to tire testing, including those like regulatory development or market control tests. To reach this target, we have created a strong structure of professional skill team. Probably the picture does not reflect the whole team, which is made out of more than 40 people, as well as impressive fleet of testing cars and testing rims and wheels that allow us to test for approval or certificate any tire dimension you can imagine in your catalog. Out of those experts, please let me introduce the people, the speakers that will present the whole seminar. First of all, Mr. Ricard Anadon, engineer, he's senior manager for tire testing and certification, as well as homologation. He is member of the UNEC GRBP, the working group where the tire regulations are developed, as well as member of the European Commission expert group on laboratory analysis alignment, ECLA. Then we have Carmelo Cruz, senior engineer responsible for outdoor testing. He will explain anything related to wet grip testing and requirements. Oscar Comajuan, senior engineer, he's responsible for indoor testing, and he is also a member of expert group EGLA in laboratory alignment for rolling resistance, and he will explain anything related to rolling resistance and laboratory alignment. Senior engineer Nuria Vendrell, she will present the details of the new labeling regulation in terms of noise. So I finish here and I pass the floor to Mr. Ricard Anadon, Senior Manager of Tyre Testing, to conduct the rest of the seminar. Thank you very much and have a successful meeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon in China. Good morning in Europe. My name is Ricard Anadon. I will start talking about this new regulation, Tyre European regulation about labeling. We will go through the requirements of this regulation. We will discuss also the administrative requirements and procedures, the verification or the market surveillance procedures, as well as we will review the implementation dates on this regulation. As you probably know, or most of you know that the main requirements are performance parameters, rolling resistance, together with laboratory alignment. We will talk about this later. The wet grip performance of the tire, and the external rolling noise. But before continuing this presentation, I would like to say that IDIADA has a strong commitment to provide the best possible testing conditions to meet these requirements for the tire industry in particular, in terms of state-of-the-art proving ground, testing equipment, expertise, and even optimum climate conditions we have in Spain. Okay, having said that, let's check carefully the label, the new label we have in this new regulation. As you can see, we will start on the top right corner. We have a quick response code, which will be linked to the European database. We will see later. We have on the left-hand side, we have the trade name or trademark of the supplier. On the right-hand side, we have a tire type identifier or commercial name of the tire. On the left-hand side, we have a tire size designation, including the load index and speed category. On the right-hand side, we have a tire class, whether it is a C1 passenger car tire, or C2 light truck tire, or C3 truck and bus tire. In the middle of the label, more or less the same, we have on the left-hand side the fuel efficiency performance class, organized from A to E. On the right-hand side, we have the wet grip performance class, also organized from A to E. And on the bottom, we have the external rolling noise class, and also including the sound emission value. On the right-hand side, we have two new pictograms. One is the well-known alpine symbol, or three-peak mountain snowflake, if the tire is designed for snow. Or the other new pictogram if the tire is designed for ice. Okay. Regarding the dimensions, dimensions are exactly the same as previous label. The overall dimension is 75 millimeters by 110 millimeters. All the details you will find in the Annex 2. And on the bottom, we have 4 options. The minimum information is the sound emission, sound level class, and the emission value. It could be also added the alpine symbol if the tire is for snow. Another option is if the tire is for ice, it could be this new pictogram, or both. Okay, those are the four options on the bottom area of the label. Okay, so I now I'd like to give the floor to Oscar Comajuan, who will speak about rolling resistance. Oscar, please.
Thank you very much, Ricard. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon for those who are in Asia. This is Oscar Comajuan, the engineer responsible for Tyre homologation laboratory indoor test at IDIADA. As Ignacio and Ricard introduced earlier, one of the tests performed in order to homologate and label tires is the rolling resistance test. The tire rolling resistance is a force caused by the constant tire deformation when rolling on the asphalt, which resists to the motion of the vehicle, causing a direct loss of energy. This loss of energy is directly related to the fuel consumption and the CO2 emissions. The homologation and the labeling regulations limit these energy consumptions on the tire, and they are checked through a rolling resistance test. This test is based in ISO 28580, in which a tire is mounted on a test bench, like you see in this video, and pressed against a drum at a certain load, which is usually 80 or 85% of the load index of the tire, depending on the tire class, and run in at 80 kilometers per hour. There are 4 different methods of measuring these forces. The torque method, in which the torque in Newton meters is applied, which is applied by the electrical motor to the drum, is measured. The force method, in which the force in the tire axle is directly measured. The power method, which is very similar to the torque method, but instead of measuring motor torque, we measure the electrical power in watts. And the deceleration method, in which the rolling resistance is calculated through the deceleration time, taking into account the moments of inertia on the drum and the tire and wheel assembly. The result obtained is a coefficient given in the dimensional units of Newton per kilonewton, or the equivalent kilogram per ton. So in the following table, you might see the fuel efficiency class of the tire based in the rolling resistance values obtained through this test. The fuel efficiency is classified from the best, A, in green, up to the worst, E, in red. These values are separated, as well as in the other test of noise and good grip, depending on the class of the tire, so C1, C2, and C3, which means basically passenger car, light truck, and truck and bus tires. The most important matter to remember is that these values in rolling resistance are aligned values. So these are to be measured by a European reference machine or an aligned candidate machine, which has been correlated to a reference machine, which I will explain later on this presentation. So if we make a comparison between this table and the previous one shown in the previous regulation 1222 of 2009, we can see some differences. Basically, the table has been now compressed, and for all type classes, values from A to C remain pretty much the same as in the previous regulation, whilst the maximum values now up to E label instead of G, filling in the rows that were empty in the previous regulation. Like you can see that in D class for C1 and C2 and G class for C3. Also, maximum values have been modified. So I was explaining before, these aligned values are according to the labeling regulation and can only be given in one of the reference machines of the European reference grid, or a candidate machine aligned to reference one. So first of all, and for those of you who are not familiar with these terms, I would like to explain why do we need an alignment procedure. So basically, every machine has different components, and as I said earlier, they apply different methods of measuring this rolling resistance coefficient, like force, torque, power, or deceleration. And that means that in the end, the results obtained may slightly vary between one machine and another. So a way of making a machine to give the same results as another machine is by performing an alignment between those two machines. So what is an alignment? An alignment procedure between two machines consists on testing some samples in each machine under the same exact testing conditions, first in one machine and then in the other. Then both results are compared and a correlation formula between those two machines is calculated. This correlation formula, also known as alignment equation, is applied to the result of the candidate machine, and then the result is corrected as if it had been tested in the reference machine. So this European alignment procedure was firstly introduced in the Regulation 1235 of 2011, which was an amendment of the European Regulation 1222 of 2009. And the conditions to perform this alignment were set in the Annex 4A of the 1235 of 2011, and now these conditions have been slightly modified and introduced in the new Annex 5 of the new regulation. The European alignment consists of a series of tests on at least 5 different tires, which shall be selected fulfilling the following requirements you see here. There shall be a gap between the highest and the lowest RRC values of 3 Newton per kilonewton in C1 and C2 tires, and a gap of at least 2 Newton per kilonewton in C3 tires. All these steps of rolling resistance coefficient between each tire shall be distributed evenly through the alignment set of tires selected, and the load index of the tires shall cover the range of tires that are to be tested in that particular machine. So also in the previous regulation, there were also requirements in the maximum width and diameter of the tires, but now has been deleted. As requirements for the candidate machines or candidate laboratory, the standard deviation shall remain lower than 0.75 Newton per kilonewton for C1 and C2 tires and 0.06 Newton per kilonewton for C3 tires. Finally, the R2 correlation between the candidate and the reference machine, which basically represents how accurate the alignment formula is between both machines, shall be equal or higher than 0.97. Now I will give the floor to my colleague Carmelo, who will speak about the wet grip test.
Hello, good morning and good afternoon, depending on your country. This is Carmelo Cruz, and I am the engineer in charge of outdoor tests for tire homologation, especially for wet grip. Before watching some videos, I would like to explain that wet grip has an important difference with the other tests of the tire labeling. The difference is that the braking distance of a tire is not shown in the label, but it's compared with the braking result of a standard reference test tire, commonly named SRTT, which is tested during the same exactly day. This reference tire is used by all test centers, exactly the same model for everybody. Because of being a comparative test, the final result is not shown. This is because atmospheric conditions can make the tire to perform differently and needs a reference to be measured. New Regulation 2020-740 does not include the test procedure as the old labeling did. Now it is addressing to the procedures of a UN Regulation 117, so it will be always updated at its latest version. The test, as you can see now, it consists of several brakings from 80 to 20 kilometers per hour. This test can be done using the vehicle or trailer procedure, which are completely equivalent. The new wet grip method for car tires has been developed to improve repeatability and reproducibility. Some new parameters used in the final calculation are new. First, the test pressure depends now on the wheel load. Then, the texture depth is a correction factor in the final calculation. And the temperature ranges have changed and are more in line with the tire category, depending if they are normal, snow, or snow severe conditions tires. For commercial vehicle test, you can see now in the video, the same procedure is used as the old regulation. It keeps the same. This procedure is shared for vans, trucks, and bus tires. It consists of several brakings from 60 to 20 kilometers per hour, Remember that car tires are braking from 80, not 60. This procedure is also done with vehicle or trailer. Now in this video, you can see all the equipments that are used to perform a wet drip test. All these devices must be calibrated to ensure good traceability. The usage of a weight scale with 4 platforms is better to do an online loading of the vehicle and see how the mass transfers from one axle to the other. Automatic test sheets are used also, and special pedals to measure the force applied, and also some human-shaped dummies to load the vehicle using water. The proving ground is maintained and measured by a specific department, but we have portable devices to do some checks also. You can see now the device to measure the water depth in the place of test. The water depth is one of the most important parameters to control through the test. It's important to keep a constant film of water during the whole length of the track to provide repeatable results. This is the new classification for the wet drip grades. The top grades, from A to C, have not been modified. There were rumors about making it more difficult to get an A level or to add new grades like A+, but finally it was discarded. In fact, my company is sad of not having the A+ grade. The letter D is no more empty, and the grade F and G are deleted from the chart. Here you can see in a more visual way the comparative of these two tables. The modifications are in line with the changes of rolling resistance grades. Now it's clearer and simpler to identify which is the correct grade for a given test result. And after having explained this, I'll give the floor to my colleague Nuria, and she will explain the noise test.
Thank you, Carmelo. Hello, everyone. This is Nuria, and as Carmelo said, I will talk about the external rolling noise test. First of all, we want to show you how we prepare and perform the test, just to provide you with some background before the specific technical information. As Ignacio said at the beginning, the noise test is an outdoor test. So the first thing we need to do is to prepare the vehicles and to fit the tires with their correct rims and it. In order to perform the test according to the regulation, we, following the tire size we're going to test, we also have to load the vehicles and to put the pressures according to this load. Once the vehicle is prepared and the tires are running, we are ready to perform the test in our ISO test track. As you may know, this test surface must comply the ISO 10844-2014 requirements, which is much more restrictive than the previous one. And two of the most important parameters of this surface is the absorption and the texture. To perform the test, the vehicle has to pass by between the two sound level meters with the engine off and at a different speed, equally spaced under and over the range. For C3 tires, the average speed is 70 kilometers per hour, and for C1, C2 tires, the average speed is 80 kilometers per hour. When the vehicle is just in the middle between the two sound level meters, the noise emitted by the tires is recorded by the sound level meters, and after some calculations, we get the final result. And it is with this final result that we can label our tires. And in here, we can see the new way to label the tires regarding noise. As you can see, instead of 1 arc, 2 arcs, or 3 arcs, we have now A, B, or C. So, for example, if your final result is lower than the limit value -3, you will have an A. Or if your final result is in the middle between the limit value -3 and the limit value, you will have a B. And if your final result is higher than the limit value, you will have a C. And the limit value in dBs must also appear in the label. And here we can see the main differences between the previous regulation and the new one. As you can see, the method to calculate the label doesn't change. It only changed the way to show this label. So I mean, if you had a tire with 1 arc, now it will be an A. or if you had a tire with 2 arcs, now it will be a V. So you will show the same result, but in a different way. And now my colleague Carmelo will continue talking about the ice and the snow performance test.
Thanks, Nuria. Hello again. The fact is that new market trends are moving to a more common usage of all-season and snow tires. Some countries are forcing the usage during the winter, and some others are just recommending it. But the truth is that every day, more and more snow tires are bought. The problem is that snow tires are not usually as good as normal or summer tires, considering the wet grip. This fact made snow tires have a worse label than normal tires in front of the final consumer. The snow grip test is very similar to the wet grip test. For C1 and C2 tires, it's a braking test, very similar to the asphalt test of wet grip. And for C3 tires, it's an acceleration test. But the principle is the same, or brake or accelerate, but you are comparing with an SRTT. It's also a comparative test. It needs 2 runs and do the average. Snow tires have blocks set far apart and are designed to grab and scratch the snow, so the performance is not as optimized on wet asphalt. So the inclusion of the symbol will allow the final client to choose the correct tire and not only focusing on the wet grip result when speaking about their safety. And this is the very brand new test included in the new regulation. The ice grip test is also based on a braking test. This test is coming from the ISO 19447. It's still in a draft state. It needs 3 runs and do the average. Ice tires are not usually good at wet grip, neither at snow. So it's important to show the client the purpose of these tires. Tires have the blocks set very close together and made of a special compound with a mix of silica, still flexible in very cold temperatures. These tires are perfect to drive not only in icy surfaces, also in highways during very cold seasons. Having explained this, now you have a general view of all the old and new tests included in the new label. So now I give the floor again to Ricard, and he will explain how to handle all this new information.
Thank you, Carmelo. Furthermore, this regulation has additional administrative requirements regarding documentation and information. So let's go through them. First of all, let's make a summary of the tire manufacturer obligations. In each tire, it has to be a label, a sticker. This is applicable to C1, passenger car tires, C2, light commercial vehicle tires, and C3 now. So you remember the previous regulation, 1222, didn't include the physical label for C3 tires, but now this new regulation is including the C3 as well. Also, as you have seen, this label is including 3 interrelated performance parameters. Fuel efficiency measured by rolling resistance, classes from A to E, wet grip, classes from A to E, and external rolling noise or sound emission from classes from A to C. Additionally, we have 2 new pictograms, whether the tire is designed for snow or for ice. The values are still declared by the manufacturer. Of course, if the test is performed in an independent laboratory, it's adding value, but at the end, the manufacturer is deciding which values should be declared in the label. A new point is, as we have seen, is a quick response code linked to the public database. We will see later. Also, a new point in this regulation is that the label information should be available for vehicles, for OEMs. So in other words, this regulation is not applicable only to aftermarket, but also to original equipment. And this is a vehicle manufacturer responsibility to show information regarding the tire label to the buyer. And finally, the label information should be available on any promotional material and internet, and this information should be close to the price. Furthermore, we have there should be a product information sheet available for the authorities. This information sheet is very similar to the information document provided for getting Regulation 117 type approval, for example. And this document should include information such as you can see now, trade name or trademark of the manufacturer, tire type identifier, tire size designation, including load index and speed category, all the information on the label, fuel efficiency class, wet grip class, external rolling noise class, whether the tire is designed for snow or for ice, the start of production date in a 4-digit format, so week and year, and the end of production date if it is known. Okay. Also, the label information will have to be included in any promotional material. First of all, this information shall be easy to read and easy to understand. It should be organized in the following order: fuel efficiency class, wet grip class, external rolling noise class, and indication of whether the tire is for snow or ice. Furthermore, the manufacturer shall also make available information regarding whether the tire belongs to a family, so indication of a range of lowest and highest performance. A link to the Commission website where the end user can find more information. Clear explanation of the meaning of the pictograms on the label, and some kind of a statement highlighting the importance of the driver behavior, such as fuel saving, tire pressure check, or respect to stopping distance. Okay. Also, another important point is that the tire manufacturer shall introduce information regarding the tire in a European database. This database is already existing in the European Union for many other products, total to 23 products, and now tires are included on that database. The database is called EPREL, European Product Database for Energy Labeling. And this database, after a phase of development, is now in production stage since October 6th, so last month. Okay, so it's ready to upload information there. There are two parts of it. One part is called compliance part and is accessible to only the European Commission and the authorities, market surveillance authorities. And the information there should be, as you can see, the tire type identifier, general description of the tire type, dimensions, load index, the speed code, protocols of the testing, grading and measurement of tire parameters, any specific precaution for assembly, installation, maintenance, or test, measure technical parameters of the tire type where relevant, and calculation performed with the measured technical parameters. Okay. Also, there will be a public part of it. So part of this information will be available for all users in the European Union. This public access will be available by end of 2020, so not yet. And information there should be, as you can see, the trade name, trademark, address, contact details, or other legal identification of the supplier, the tire type identifier, the tire label information in electronic format, the classes and other parameters of the label, and the parameters of the product information sheet, the PIS, product information sheet in electronic format. So in other words, if you remember, we spoke about the QR code. So anyone could scan with a mobile phone or any portable device, will be able to scan this code, and this code will be linked to this part of the public database to have all the information of the tire. Okay. Also, another very important point of this regulation is described in Annex 6, is the conformity of this regulation. So this regulation is pushing European member states to perform market surveillance activities or market surveillance control. This control is just to make sure that the label is according to the real performance of the tire. Okay, and then there will be this table used as tolerance to define the conformance. For example, in terms of rolling resistance, the product will be declared conform if the aligned value is not more than 0.3 Newton per kilonewton over the upper limit of the declared class. Aligned value, remember. In terms of rolling noise, for example, the measured value shall not be greater than 1 dB from the declared value. In terms of wet grip, the measured value shall not be lower than the lower limit of the declared class. Okay. Similar for snow grip, the snow grip index shall not be lower than the minimum required value in Regulation 117, where it is defined this snow performance test method. And regarding ice grip index, shall not be lower than the minimum value identified in the ISO 19447. Okay, so if some tires are found non-conformance, then the authorities will contact the manufacturer to start the procedure. Furthermore, this regulation has possible extensions in the future. For example, for retreaded tires. The retreaded tires are included in the scope of this regulation, but the label is not applicable until we have suitable test methods for all performance parameters. Similar to that, mileage information could be included in the future, but is not included yet because there is no test method available in Europe. And similar to that, abrasion information is not included, but it could be included in the future if we can define a suitable test method. And all of this is possible thanks to Article 14 of this regulation, which empowers the Commission to adopt delegated acts to amend non-essential elements of this regulation, without touching the main text of the regulation. Therefore, there is a mandate to create and evaluate test methods for performance of the retread tires. As we said, mileage. There are some testing methods in the US, for example, and other markets, but not in Europe yet. And abrasion also. And also, finally, the European Commission is committed to make to carry on an evaluation of this regulation by 1st of June 2025. Okay, to see if this regulation needs further amendments or further improvement, including the customer survey. Okay, and finally, I would like to go through relevant dates of this regulation. First of all, this regulation was published 5th of June 2020. It will enter into force the 1st of May 2021. This is the main date. And regarding the product database, of course, any product placed on the market after 1st of May 2021 should be according to this regulation, and therefore the information should be introduced in the database. But the tires produced between 25th June 2020 and 30th of April 2021 there is a transitional provision to enter the data before 30th of November 2021. Okay, this is a summary of implementation. I think we have covered all points. We have reviewed testing requirements. We have reviewed the technical procedures, legal administrative requirements and procedures, verification procedures, and implementation dates. So that's all from our side. I would like to thank you very much for your attention. Ignacio, I don't know if you want to say the last words.
Yes, of course, Ricard. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate and felicitate all the speakers for this excellent presentation. And we would like to also thank you very much to all attendees. Around 200 people from many countries, companies, tire manufacturers, vehicle manufacturers, and testing agencies or governments are interested. I hope we have covered all or most of your doubts, interests, etc. We are absolutely available for any additional question. And probably this will be the first, but not the last seminar on this matter, because things are changing and situation is evolving, and probably more information will be available. In any case, since the matter related to the development of regulations as well as tire labeling are now still in process, if you had any doubt for the regarding specific details, please do not hesitate to contact us. Again, congratulations to all the speakers. Thank you very much for the attendees. We are very happy to have hosted this seminar, to have seen so many questions, so big interest. And we are looking forward to meet you probably physically in better moments, hoping you are all safe at home. And again, thank you very much. This is the closing moment for the seminar. Thank you. Goodbye.